Going back to Eric's situation, Eric fought hard as the leader's men took turns in beating him until he became weak and wasted. The last punch made him fell on the floor that his head hit a hard surface. Blood came oozing from his head and fell unconscious. Believing that Eric is dead, the leader ordered his men to get him out of the cottage and dispose of him. He left feeling no remorse about what they did to Eric. The men carried him to the van and drove along the road, looking for a right spot to leave his body. They threw Eric's lifeless body in a field and quickly drove away. A few minutes later, Eric got back to consciousness, and even if he was badly hurt and dying, he tried to crawl toward the open road hoping somebody would see him, but he couldn't move further. Meanwhile, as Ariane was having second thoughts about leaving, she heard the sounds of the leader's motorcycle and the van leaving the premises. Thinking that they left Eric, Ariane quickly ran to the cottage to see how he was and help him get out of there. Ariane was calling out to Eric in a low tone as she walked inside, only to find the cottage empty and blood on the floor. Ariane got terrified for having not found Eric in the cottage and only saw blood all over the place. She cried profusely and was so scared of not knowing where he was taken and if he was still alive.
Ariane ran back to Ingrid, who was waiting for her at the park close to the bus stop, and cried. "What happened, Ariane? Why are you crying and trembling? Has something awful happened there?"
Eric and I stumbled at each other in the villa, and then the guard saw us. Eric told me to run, and he fought with the guard while the other man chased me. And when the man chasing me failed to catch me, he went back and both guards took him. I hid and waited, thinking they would only beat him, then they would set him free, but I was wrong. I think he's dead, Ingrid.
Oh my God. What are we going to do now? We have to report this to the police, Ariane.
I'm afraid we can't do that. If we will report this, the masked man would not hesitate to run after me, and I don't even know who he was because of his mask. He's at a better edge to get me, Ingrid, and I already fear for my life and yours too.
Oh dear me, I never thought of that. So what are we going to do? Wait?
We have no choice, Ingrid. We must pay attention to the news. That's the only way. We have to know about Eric, and I'm hoping he is still alive. In the meantime, back to Eric. A passing tractor saw Eric lying in the grassy field, bloodied and lifeless. He called 911 and an ambulance came, and they tried to resuscitate him as they rushed him to the hospital. The following day, Ariane was anxious about listening to the news on television, hoping there might be something about a missing person found somewhere, and she got startled.
A field reporter said the police answered an emergency assistance about a wounded male victim, almost unrecognizable and near death, found in a field. It was timely that a farmer found the victim and was then rushed to the hospital. The police were making their investigation, and they said that the guy found was tortured somewhere else and was dumped on this place where he was found, and his company ID indicated that he was an auditor from the Morrison Group of companies. The police made their assumption that there is a foul play here, and it might be work-oriented or could also be a possibility of holdup.
Ariane and Ingrid were shocked and wept for Eric's condition. Oh my God, Eric, what did you told them that put yourself in danger? If I stayed on with him, both of us could have been dead.
Ariane, tell me truthfully, why was he there in the first place? Are you keeping something from me that I shouldn't know? Tell me this instance, Ariane, please.
Not today, Ingrid. What you don't know would be for your own safety. Please let us not talk about Eric. Instead, let us go to the hospital now. As soon as they reached the hospital, they were brought to the viewing room where they found Eric in such a tragic situation. Machines were attached to monitor his condition. I couldn't take this anymore. Why on earth do they have to do this to him? Why didn't they spare his life? All he wanted was to see the place where his dad died. He could never be a threat to them, Ariane said.
Is that why you can't tell me why he was there? To investigate? look for evidences and find who his dad's killer. Then he knew something and discovered who the killer was. That's why they silenced him, thinking he was dead, so they dispose of him so that the truth will not be revealed.
Eric's heart seems to fluctuate irregularly until his heartbeat stops. The doctors hastily ran to his bedside to save him. While Eric was fighting for his life, Rain Martin came to see his condition, but seconds later, the doctor came out of the room and declared Eric dead. Ariane was devastated and cried uncontrollably. Rain quickly held her to comfort her, commiserating with her grief. Ariane couldn't accept that Eric is dead. Will she tell Rain Martin everything that she witnessed that night that brought Eric to his death? Part 19 follows.